2 weeks ago, the Pine School District and every other district in the country received this letter from the new leadership at the U.S. Department of Education. In it, what can only be described as a diatribe against current federal and state laws that aim to protect disadvantaged students. The letter gives districts like ours 14 days to come into full compliance with the edicts laid out here, or lose their federal funding. So we sat down with Superintendent Dr. Steve Cook to better understand what he and our school board must now do to honor its demands. The short answer is nothing at all. The long answer is quite revealing.
All right, we're back for part 2 of this episode of the Soup is On podcast.
If there is one thing Dr. Stephen Cook has learned in his 40 years as an educator and 4 years as superintendent of the state's 5th largest school district, it's to show up, to interact, to face the hard questions. And his success in leadership has been dependent on his understanding of state and federal laws, all designed to make sure every child gets the attention they need to succeed.
Every student that walks through our doors, we want them to feel that sense of belonging in the schools, which means we have lots of different mechanisms that are going to help meet them wherever their needs are.
In fact, much of the federal funding that comes to the district is directed to exactly that, focusing resources to lift up students who otherwise might get left behind. More than $15 million federal dollars a year funds that goal. That's about 6.5% of the district's budget. That money covers everything from the free breakfast and lunch programs to help for low-income students in math and reading to assisting students facing disabilities and even homelessness.
Equal outcomes come through non-equal distribution of resources. And it's, for example, we are funded more for a student that's been identified with special needs.
And that's a problem, according to this letter school districts across the country have nicknamed the Dear Colleague letter from the Department of Education. Among other things, it tells Dr. Cook and more than 12,000 other superintendents spending money on special programs means they're discriminating against all other students who face no disadvantages. In other words, remove race from all educational decision-making, basically flipping the script on the interpretation of nearly every anti-discrimination law on the books for the last 60 years. Take race out of your anti-discrimination efforts in the district. You can't do that.
I think the second that we do that, we're breaking the law.
For many, this letter is a reason for concern and anxiety that the funding for the programs their child depends on will be defunded. This letter is not leading to any changes with respect to the Pine School District's policies or their approach to students and education.
That's absolutely accurate, David. This is really important for our community here. We are committed to meeting our students' needs, whatever their conditions, whatever their circumstances.
But for others, the Dear Colleague letter may be ammunition to use against districts across the country that subscribe to any form of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and other programs that accommodate students of color, low income, or disability.
Absolutely, there are people that could use this to come at the school district and say, here's a letter that says you should be doing things differently.
Dr. Cook says he's ready to have those conversations. The letter might outline a new interpretation of anti-discrimination laws by the new administration, but without the power of existing law to back it up. And while the superintendent doesn't want to jeopardize his federally funded programs, he has this assurance for students, parents, and staff in his district.
We will follow the laws of the U.S. government and Constitution, and we will also follow the laws of the state of Oregon. And the state of Oregon has been very clear what those expectations are and what student rights are as they come into our schools. The deadline for compliance is now here, yet Pine and thousands of other school districts across Oregon and the country won't be lifting a finger to change what they know is their legal responsibility to serve and protect their students. In the meantime, at least 3 lawsuits have been filed by national educator groups against the Department of Education for even sending out a letter like this that they claim misinterprets the law and violates your civil rights. I'm David Clue, Central Oregon Daily News.